Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
You know how some people enter your life with a knock, with a bang, and then there's Rebecca Batterman, who showed up like a plot twist in a film noir. It's hard to explain, but it was serendipitous, it was synchronistic. You can't make this up. We needed to know each other, but we didn't know that, and we met at the exact right time in the most random of circumstances at the Soho House in New York City. I know that sounds fancy. This is my first time there. She's a thinker. She's a doer. She ticks a lot of boxes. It's kind of hard to encapsulate her right now in all this, but she's like an AI literacy nerd, and she's really schooling me on how maybe we're not quite headed to James Cameron land, but she's also a cancer survivor, which, you know, the box we don't want to tick. So she's got like really cool perspective and just a great attitude on how to stay positive. That's a nice thing when you're me, I guess. Anyway, I'm a big fan, a bigger friend, and I guess that's it. Welcome to my conversation with Rebecca Batterman. Let's go. Rebecca Batterman, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Old friend.
Yes.
5 years now we've known each other.
Yeah.
That's crazy. This is your second time on the show.
Yes.
I think you were one of my first guests, right?
Was I? I don't even...
Were you pandemic or pre-pandemic? Do you even remember when that was?
I don't remember.
That's how much society feels about the pandemic.
I know.
Was I wearing a mask? I have no idea.
I remember we had a show. I don't remember filming it. And I forgot that we did.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
until our conversation a few minutes ago.
It's your first time again. How's that?
Okay, great. Good.
Your first rodeo all over again.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. I think it's important for the guests to know that you and I live and breathe nostalgia. Right?
Yes.
We do. You know, fuck that we bond over like we had shit happening in our genes and DNA years ago. Like we're still here. But nostalgia.
Well, I like pop culture nostalgia.
Well, yeah, you also shared a movie with me that I haven't seen. Shame me. Go ahead.
I can't believe it.
What's it called?
I mean, just for context for the people who are listening,
yes.
5 minutes ago, you said something about nostalgia, and I said, don't you love the movie Midnight in Paris because you love nostalgia? And you said...
What is that?
Never
and
saw
now
it.
I feel really humiliated.
Woody Allen.
Okay.
The whole premise is that not Woody Allen, but it's a Woody Allen movie. And it's, I'm blanking. Who are the two brothers that are Southern?
We're going to go to Google right now
Okay.
and check. Live fact checking.
Oh, Owen Wilson.
And?
Rachel McAdams.
Okay.
Owen Wilson owns a nostalgia shop. And the whole idea of the movie, I'm not going to ruin it, but is that he thinks that the best time to be alive was the time in the past. And so he's very nostalgic about a time in Paris where, wouldn't it have been the best time to...
Like Moulin Rouge time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's like the Belle Epoque, but they go into this in the thing.
Okay.
But he felt the best time was when like Dali was around and all these great artists. And like for him, that would have been the best time. And then he gets to time travel. And so it's really interesting because then he gets to that time and those people are saying, best time would have been this time that was in the past. And so there's a lot of really interesting pop culture. There are some like, we see a lot of these famous artists pop up in the movie. It's just it's a really interesting conversation about nostalgia.
I'd love to go back in time to those eras, but I'd want to bring antibiotics with me.
Fair.
Maybe some Purell in ancient Rome.
Indoor plumbing.
Yeah, who knew, right?
You know?
Reminds me, I just saw a documentary how like the city before cars, the city was just full of horse shit.
Yeah.
Literally all over the streets, sanitation didn't work. And like, yeah, that was New York in the 1860s.
And they didn't have indoor plumbing.
No.
So they also threw everything out the window. So it was not just horseshit.
Yeah. Quality urban living
Yeah.
in the 1860s.
And think about the summer. Ugh.
Oh God, not even a thing.
I love that this is what we're talking about.
Well, it's also like, no, it's perspective, right? It's just everything's perspective. I mean, again, like I was diagnosed in Bill Clinton's like first administration. I didn't give a shit about nothing. It was just like, oh, good luck walking off, right? That was therapy, walk it off. And now it's like, oh, we're going to maybe hug you or maybe not give a shit about you. It's a crapshoot depending on what you're going through. But I like that we can have this perspective on like people ask me when were you diagnosed? I'm like in the Stone Age. I'm like, really? Like it's like
You were also very young.
I was young. But again, it's like most people like, oh, it was 5 years ago, a year ago, like, oh, 30 years ago. How are you alive? What was it like back then? Were there dinosaurs?
If someone had the same diagnosis that you had then now, is the treatment very different in that whole process?
It is. Let me divulge for a second. I've always had this vision to write a Broadway play.
Okay.
Like an off Broadway play.
Musical?
I don't think it would fly as a musical. I mean, brain tumor.
Hey.
Let's get Lin-Manuel Miranda to write it for me.
Well, if he's involved, it'll be a hit.
Or Steven Schwartz, Wicked for Cancer, whatever the hell it's going to be.
Wicked for Cancer. It just
I don't know. It's not gonna
sounds
happen.
weird.
Alpha. I got the Alphaba. Ulamab. It's bad. I've always wanted to do it's fictional in my head, but the concept is a person gets diagnosed with the same cancer every decade for 6 decades. And the scene is basically the same scene, but updated for technology of that decade. So in the 30s, I have cancer. Goodbye. You're dead. Scene over. 30-second scene. Right? The 40s. Oh, we have Novocaine now. Oh, well, you're dead. 40-second scene. But as you progress, every scene is the same exact diagnosis, but maybe the doctor knows something now, or maybe there's a pamphlet for you now, or maybe there's some research for you now. What the hell is a clinical trial? And it just goes through the decades of what those conversations would look like in the exact same scenario. So it's been literally where the tumor used to be in the back of my head. This has been an idea fomenting for years. The answer to your question is unequivocally yes. And I can sum it up now with something that happened to me 2 days ago. And this is going to air, in a couple of months. But my friend called me up and said, I was just diagnosed with brain cancer. I said, oh my God, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm out of the hospital. It was in for an hour. He went in for laparoscopic brain surgery.
Oh.
And they sucked it out of his head. He's got this giant gnarly scar, and he got his stitches out yesterday.
And then he left the same day.
He pretty much left the same day.
Wow.
That may not be every brain cancer diagnosis these days, but the fact that you can have this diagnosis, go to the hospital, get neurosurgery, and be back at work in a day or two with no side effects that's holy shit. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. I couldn't walk for 6 months. Right. Wow. So I look at that as a decent answer to your question.
Well, that's very exciting. Someone you've been working in the medical industry for your entire career. That's exciting.
Yeah.
So I'm interested then to know why nostalgia is so interesting to you, if the future and all of these things evolving and changing. It's like innovation is exciting to you, but then also nostalgia.
Well, again, I'm 1974, so that is median bell curve Gen Xer. There was no greater, May 29th, 74 is you can't get a more median bell curve of the Gen X that I am. So I look at how we reacted and we treated each other and what social circles looked like and how peer support worked and mental health was not even, you didn't say those words together. You're just fucking crazy, right? Go take a walk, go on the roof, get some air, right? Whatever it is. And that was applicable to me when I was sick. right? It really was. It just get over it. People have been through worse. Oh, have they? Right? I've been told those things too.
Brain surgery is pretty bad.
Yeah. On the
But
scale of things, yes. And now, it may not be like pop culture-ish, but again, you look at the austerity of like terms of endearment, right? The tragic movie with Shirley MacLaine. And poor Deborah Winger's character was like Left 4 Dead. She's banging on the desks wanting painkillers. And now they give a shit about who you are because A, they make more money when they care about you now. And they realize that when you keep you compliant and on your meds and higher quality of life, they make more money because there's less like hospital recidivism. I'll put it that way, right? So there's more coddling now under many, many cases. Maybe not the empathy you need, but definitely more awareness of that you live longer and better and they make more money when they care enough about you versus walk it off.
that seems like a positive thing.
It's a better problem to have, which is a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
Right. So I just wrote an article the other day about how like we want to, burn down healthcare and Fight Club wasn't really a solution. Right. And they'll be back up in business the next day.
Well,
right?
then we can't talk about it if you're.
What?
I was making a Fight Club joke. Because the number one rule about Fight Club is you can't talk about it.
There's the cue that I missed. Thank you for reminding me we don't talk about Fight Club. Oh, me.
And that joke did not land.
No, it landed somewhere else for sure.
Landed for someone.
Well, I mean, you were diagnosed and like he's like, here's a cookie and a ribbon. Like, I don't think they do that anymore.
I didn't get a cookie.
You didn't get a cookie?
No.
No? You got a ribbon.
But you know what? If I did get a cookie, I would have had a big problem with it because
would have
it's
been
like
a pink cookie.
It probably would have been a pink cookie, and also just why are you giving me sugar?
Yes.
No, because I remember because I've always been a very healthy, into fitness, like just personally, I grew up in a very healthy house, like very aware of what I'm putting into my body. And so I came to the table with a lot of knowledge around nutrition and wellness. And so I went to the nutrition team and I was like, okay, so like.
Wait, hey, there was a nutrition team.
True.
Let's give that props and credit.
Okay. Yes.
Right. I was like, here, have ice cream. You're vomiting every day.
Okay.
So progress.
Well, there was a nutrition team,
Okay, good.
and I said, hi, okay, so like what supplements do I need to be taking? Like what do I need to be doing to counter what we're doing? And the response, I was expecting some like obscure mushroom supplement or something I wasn't really aware
Some
of.
root from the Philippines.
Something.
Yeah.
And I get it and I'd take it for sure. And the response that I got was, oh, I mean, just like eat some broccoli and like have like brown rice and you're doing great. And avoid some soda and I'm like,
That was
okay.
it, like the American diet.
And I'm like, okay, I came to this conversation saying I'm already
Aware of these things. Thank you.
very
Captain
healthy.
Obvious.
So I was disappointed with that. But, I'm sure for most of the country that is a helpful team to have involved in your process. But for me, it wasn't.
Well, again, like the data's still there. Like 80% of people with cancer are diagnosed in like bumblefuck. So there's no way to know if these smaller clinics that are paid for by states funding and budgets have.
Yeah.
I would almost consider it like a nice to have concierge service of a nutritionist on staff.
But, I think what I was looking for was a different level of understanding of nutrition and functional health and all these other things.
You were like nutrition 201, but they were 101.
No, I wanted like 4.0. Like I didn't want, no, way different. And what ended up happening was I had an amazing doctor who was a little bit better versed on like, not non-traditional things, but just outside of just traditional medicine.
All right.
And I felt I needed to listen to my body. And so what I would do was I would actually, after treatment, go to infrared sauna and sweat it out. Because to me, I was like, oh, there's all this toxins going into my
Was
body.
that like pre-hot yoga trending?
No, hot yoga was already trending. I had been doing it for years.
Okay.
But now
Of course you have.
I've been doing it for 20 years. But I knew how I felt doing hot yoga. I like Bikram. I know you're not allowed to talk about Bikram anymore. He
got canceled?
Bikram got canceled. But the practice of Bikram, I've always liked and have done for 20 years.
But can't you separate the art from the artist?
Apparently not.
I still watch The Cosby Show.
Well, I don't know where is that even airing
it's on
anywhere?
YouTube. It's on a secret. My wife found a secret. Look, again, child of the 80s, The Cosby Show, there was a wonderful episode of No Stupid Questions, the podcast No Stupid Questions, about can you separate the art from the art? We're drifting, but can you separate the art from the artist? And I say yes, because people still fucking listen to Michael Jackson. So get over it, you hypocrites.
I'm not going to touch this, but I think there's a difference because that was more speculative and not confirmed. And there are some other situations that are confirmed and then they got canceled. So anyway, you'll notice there aren't any studios that are like Bikram yoga anymore. They're all now hot yoga. But here's my issue.
Yes.
You can have hot yoga. Sorry, this isn't my tangent.
Okay, go for it.
But you can have hot yoga and it's not the practice of Bikram. And like the studio is a lovely 95 degrees and not 110. I want the 110.
Okay.
I want the 110.
You bring a thermal blanket with you.
But anyway, so I digress. So because I had practiced for so long, I knew how my body felt, releasing toxins, like optimal health and wellness. Like I know how I feel when I feel good. And to me, it didn't make sense like putting this in my body and then it just staying in my body. And so I had asked my doctor, is there a point where I can then go to infrared sauna and like sweat it out? And she's like, yeah. After a couple hours, it's done what it's supposed to do. And then it's like, it can leave your body. So I actually took an approach where every time after treatment, the next day I would go to infrared sauna and sweat it out. And I never had any issues. I felt great. I mean, I think there's something to that. So I say that because no one told me to do that. That was just something I intuitively felt was important for my body.
Again, and that's like, is that a better problem to have where, yes, they told you that broccoli wasn't right for you. By the way, did you have broccoli and brown rice with you?
Probably not yoga? Brown rice. I don't think I was eating brown rice anyway.
Right.
No.
Right.
I didn't have sugar.
Right.
Which I normally don't have anyway.
You came pre-game to this, right?
I did.
Do you think that was unique for you? I mean, I don't know how many people, because this is like the Lance Armstrong syndrome, where you're in your peak condition, you do all the right things, and holy shit, why did this happen? Shouldn't this be not a thing for me because I'm doing this?
So I never thought about it like that. I actually thought, thank God I have been so healthy my entire life. I always grew up playing sports and working out and eating clean. Like I'm in such a prime place to handle this physically that I thought that was actually a huge gift.
All right. We're going to get back to that after the break.
Oh, there are breaks.
There are breaks. I have no idea who the commercial is from. Bikram yoga.
Definitely not.
Not Bikram yoga. All right, we'll be right back.
I'm going to get canceled now.
I love your attitude on that reaction. You're still laughing. The break's over.
Oh, we're back. Sorry.
No, because this is always like the narrative is if Lance Armstrong can get cancer in peak physical condition, anyone can get cancer in peak physical, which is like, what's the point of eating that?
Who says that everyone can't get it? Like, I think that's the thing that we have to actually have a conversation about. Why is everyone assuming they're immune to having this? Everyone's going to have something.
Well, it's the inculcation of the American way. It's like, oh, just eat well and exercise and you'll never get sick, which is completely unfathomable.
Well, the irony is I never did get sick. I never get a cold, or I still haven't had COVID. I don't get sick, but I had cancer.
Asterisk.
But I had a cancer diagnosis.
But I love the way you spun it, which was you were more prepared to endure all that insanity.
Well, I think that's the whole thing of why it's so important to prioritize your health and know what's going on and be healthy, as healthy as you can be, because when something does happen, your body can handle it better. Like even if if you're lifting weights and then you break your leg, you're going to heal through that, and you're not breaking your leg by lifting weights, but something happens, you break your leg.
Someone drops a dumbbell on your leg.
That would be very unfortunate. But even in that scenario, you're going to heal faster because your body is already prepared than if you are starting in a place of sitting on the couch all the time, never working out,
Right.
never eating healthy.
Right. Yeah,
So-
don't start at 0. Start at 7 or 8.
That's all we can control is putting our bodies in the best possible position for when things do happen, because inevitably something at some point in some capacity will happen. Maybe it won't be it won't be what you had, or it won't be my diagnosis. It won't be, but something's always going to happen. So you need to be the best version of you so you can handle them. And that's physically, it's also spiritually.
Yes. That's another conversation.
It's another conversation.
Actually, I had more nostalgia for you. The way in which I kind of gauge society's understanding and the less boogeyman-ness that cancer is based on, in the 90s, it was like a whisper campaign. I had the cancer, right? And people thought I was magnetic or radioactive and I was contagious, like AIDS, right? We had to overcome all these stigmas at the dawn of how do we treat people like people without feeling like you're being stigmatized or ostracized or fired from your job and all these things. And now cancer is like in every sitcom.
Wow.
It's
fun.
Well, it was like, I think Sex and the City really changed the narrative when Samantha got cancer, and she treated it like she ripped her wig off. She said, fuck all this. And that was such a nice thing for society. And then now it was in like on TV shows and it's in the movies now. And we've moved past Fault in Our Stars. It's not a victimhood. It's like, oh, I just got some cancer.
Well, I think it could be that. I mean, depends on what you're going through. But I think also what happened is more people started getting it. So it probably became more common. Whereas maybe when you were diagnosed, not everyone knew someone who had cancer, especially being young. I mean, did your friends, you were probably the first person of your friend group to have anything medically like shifting. And
all right, I'll give you a stats data nerd question. All right, there's like 1.8 million people every year with cancer now diagnosed brand new. By the way, more and more are diagnosed earlier, so the numbers look like they're scary, but they're really not. I'd rather have more people diagnosed earlier than have more people diagnosed at stage 4, right?
Sure.
The prevention is working. Early detection is working for many, many cancers. Of that 1.8-ish million, talk about me or kids or young adults, do you have any idea what the number is? Of that 1.8 million, how many are under like 40, 45 years old? Take a guess.
12%.
4%.
Oh, wow.
60 to 80,000 a year are diagnosed under the age of 40. So it's exceptionally rare statistically. And when you are in that bracket, you're never going to find someone like you unless you happen to stumble upon something that you got lucky to do. So yeah, the most people that get cancer are still in their 70s and 80s. That's just an aging process now. But you're right. The awareness of this and more people getting it, I'm optimistic it's a little less boogeyman to society.
Well, also, I think there's a linguistic issue here. Like, you're calling something the same thing that is completely different.
Yes.
And not just within the same type, because you can have different stages, but all the different types. I mean, it's like skin cancer and colon cancer are very different.
Right.
And so I think that
it's a bad umbrella.
whoever named it probably, I mean, I think it was a bad idea, because if they were individually not lumped together, I think the intensity of it all would be a lot lighter, because it would be specific to what someone's going through instead of this like big label. And then someone's pulling from the one example that they know, they're this person in their family, and projecting that experience onto yours, which is a completely different experience. And, you know, I think that's not a healthy thing.
Right, but scary numbers make money for donations. The St. Jude commercials will always make millions of dollars.
Oh, speaking of donations, sorry, you know I'm going to go on my little tangent for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sugar and pink, not for me. I could nothing.
You know, like the pink M&Ms, like just go for it?
I'm not sure there's anything, and I'm open to being brought to aware of something that bothers me more, but I don't know that there's anything that bothers me more than when a certain airline that I'm a big fan of in the month of October is trying to get people to buy pink lemonade for breast cancer awareness.
Okay. And pink martinis too, by the way. You've seen that one.
Sugar. What is happening? It's just it's such a disconnect, but whatever. I get it.
Yeah, that airline not a sponsor of this program.
I don't want to be on bad terms with them.
No, let's not mention who the airline is for sure. But
no, I love the airline. I'm a super fan.
I don't have a gauge on this as much as I used to because I'm out of the cancer nonprofit world, right? I've been out of that space for 6.5 years now. We used to call this pink nausea because it was endless and disgusting, and they
Makes
were like
me nauseous.
Yeah, I don't know if it's as pink as it used to be. I don't know yet. I genuinely didn't pay attention. We're recording this in like early December. I didn't pay attention in October if it was like hyper pink.
I actually felt like it wasn't so pink this last October.
That's good progress.
I think so.
Was there a pink backlash? You think probably.
I don't know.
Have you cloned yourself and built an army of anti-pink people?
I can't be bothered. I don't know. I don't like it though.
I mean, again, just going back to the nostalgia, like I remember something that was really groundbreaking was South Park did an episode.
Always.
Because they can do these things. And they did an episode about marijuana was getting legalized in the city, or there was a dispensary. We needed a medical prescription before it was legalized in Colorado. So the men decided to give themselves testicular cancer so they could get medical marijuana. And
sorry, how did they give it to themselves?
They basically, I think they dipped their balls in nuclear waste and they bounced around the city on.
They're radioactive.
Yeah, yes, exactly. But like, how inane and surreal can you get creatively? I mean, Trey Parker, Matt Stone were geniuses to do that.
They're still at it.
It's great, but that's the pop culture aspect of where it's okay to make fun of it now. And is that a watershed?
I mean, they were making fun of it before.
Yes.
They never stopped, and they're going to keep making fun of it.
Right.
I don't think they subscribe to the like highs and lows of what we can make fun of societally.
No, but it's endemic of progress. I don't think they would have been able to get away with it in 1998 when they started.
I think maybe.
I mean, they were making fun of anti-Semitism and Santa fighting Frosty.
They were. I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I watched in 1998, and I haven't really watched it lately, so I can't speak to like the progression.
Right.
But I think they would do whatever they wanted to do.
Well, there was a Terrence and Phillip episode in like 2004 where they wished each other the Canadian puppets.
Yeah. Okay.
And they wished each other brain cancer. I was like, this is great that they're saying this now.
I mean,
it's just a warped way to think about progress, is that we can have this now on ER when Mark Green died of brain tumor and like.
Spoiler alert. Sorry. I mean, it's 20 years old.
If you missed the season finale of ER, Clooney comes back and Mark Green is dead. Yeah. Sorry about that. All right, let me talk a bit about, I love that all over your LinkedIn is the word innovation. Is that word become hackneyed? Does that mean anything anymore? Or it's like AI innovation and what is innovation?
So I don't know what innovation is, but I'll say in my career, I have been on the fringe of like the next thing and bringing the masses through the next thing. But when I started, innovation was tech innovation. So like your innovation officer was probably like an engineer, someone who was like working in tech. And then there was this whole period of time where innovation became looking forward. What's new? I was heavily involved in corporate innovation. I don't know if
what did that mean?
So corporate innovation was like, what happened was, as startups came about, it started to challenge the status quo of corporate brands who for many, many decades, 100 years, really didn't have to change anything because they're the only ones putting stuff on the shelves. Startups come, think about like Casper mattress. Oh my God, a mattress in a box that was so revolutionary.
Direct shipping, no retail.
You don't have to go to a store and like pick one out. And the mattress model, the store model hadn't changed. I mean, it was like the same concept for decades.
Right.
And so corporate innovation started to be this thing 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19 as a response to startups popping up. And it's, we have to stop and think about it because there was a time when there weren't startups and it wasn't that long ago. I mean, I was already living and working in New York and when startups popped up. Before that, you have to think about like it was a lot of just corporate brands doing whatever they wanted. They weren't really challenged to think outside of the box.
Well, there was the dot-com explosion that was startups, and that tanked miserably, but you're right.
But not consumer products.
No, well, socks.com or where the hell that was, puppets.com.
But okay, I don't know about puppets.com. but there weren't really consumer products through new brands outside of the big ones that we know. Mm-hmm. And so once that started happening across all these different consumer categories, corporate innovation then came, and that was working. It was like the startups within these corporate brands. So I actually was really a part of that. And it was all around this idea of fail fast, innovation. Let's get something new out there. And these are it's a very startup-y mindset, but it was happening within these corporate companies. So I was working with brands like Procter & Gamble, Target, Gillette, Lego. I mean, everyone, mattress companies. I was consulting with them on they were like, how can we reinvent what we've been doing for so long? And that was really exciting because for me, at least, I like having these conversations about how can we do this differently. And so I was working with all of these brands. And to me, that's what innovation is. Now, fast forward, innovation is a lot. Their emerging tech has come out, and now it's having a lot of tech focus again. So I don't know. I think innovation can kind of be what it's like, open to interpretation, because it depends on the conversation you're having. Like 100%. If you're having a tech AI conversation, innovation is going to mean something a little bit different than if you're having a consumer focused conversation, a consumer CPG brand. But to me, it just means looking forward and being excited about what can be created.
My version of this in the cancer support world is there are startups now in this space that are leveraging some of these CPT strategies with AI. And there's a startup now, I'm not going to mention their name, but because they won't pay me to be their sponsor. No, I'm totally kidding. And they're developing AI doppelgangers for peer support, where supposedly people like me who have lived experience or social workers that have been doing the space. Like
an AI twin?
An AI twin, which is, I didn't know what those words were until recently, where if you want to go to my website, you'll be greeted by a me or a social worker friend of mine, and they'll be versed in what I would normally tell you. Go here, do this, think that. And I'm the AI intervention because I don't have time to talk to you, or I'm busy, or I have whatever it is that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of terrifying.
Why?
Because I'm not confident that the liabilities are set up quite yet.
So wait, but let me ask you, right now, is it that AI twin is replacing a human who would have done it? Or at this point, no one is being supported?
I think the vision of what I'm to understand, I could be misinterpreting this, is that it would be an entire replacement for me.
But but my point is, it's not a replacement of you because you're not currently acting as that role for people.
Right,
so
but if
it's filling a hole, it's not replacing you.
All right. Well, this is interesting for my brain because I don't understand it. And I don't think this is like a get off my lawn Gen X thing. I want to embrace it. I want to figure out how I can use it to help people. But if a robot is acting in my stead, talking to people I'm not talking to as a human being, and saying, you should consider this nonprofit, or you can join a peer group or start writing, whatever I'm going to tell, and there's some harm in what I'm telling them, and it doesn't understand the empathy of their reaction. It's not CPG. Because you're concerned about your likeness being manipulated in some way that's not something you sign off on. Or someone hacks the AI and I'm telling them to go drink their own pea and have broccoli, right? Whatever the hell it is.
Yeah. Well, so I wasn't saying that so much. I mean, that's a legitimate concern.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, most people's concern with AI.
Well, that's the innovation I'm seeing. And if we're using the word like adoption of where CPG and corporate brands are leaning into where the retail space or the services industry, I get that. I can totally understand that. Healthcare is a whole other universe.
Well, but so what I was saying though is not your perspective and your likeness conversation, because that's valid.
Yeah.
But if someone, using your example, was diagnosed and didn't have access to a peer or an expert, and now they are given someone to chat with, to walk them through, to give advice, there's value to that. And that is coming through the tech.
I'm really eager to see the reactions to these chatbots and the AI people when cancer patients of any age or it's nice because one of them could speak Spanish, one of them could speak this, native languages. That's a great advancement in peer-to-peer and mental health support for people undergoing treatments and survivorship issues and just living your life after fuckery, so to speak. I really am eager to hear, can it be refined? Can you really mimic empathy through these emerging platforms in the healthcare space?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I just want to talk about, like, I'm fascinated to see these startups starting because they're all coming to me and saying help. I'm like, no. Well,
but I guess you also have to wonder is the level of empathy, like the degree of empathy 1 through 5, let's say, whatever, 5 is the most human-like and 1 is most robot, and they're 3. But is a 3 better than nothing?
That's a great question. I don't think that's an ethics question. I think that's just a consumer response question. They weren't empathetic enough. Like, I'm sorry you're here talking to me would be the best opening line anyone could, if they find a digital me and say, Matt, I was just diagnosed, and my spouse or my dad, there's no good Hallmark card for this. How can I help? Right? That should be the opening line. I don't know if AI is going to even know to do that, or can it be trained to do that?
It can be trained.
Okay.
There are companies, I mean, I'm not an expert, but there are companies that do digital twins. And yeah, you can train them.
All right, so I will agree that is innovation. I'm desperately curious to see where it goes.
But another form of innovation, also tech related, but now, not even that long ago, but just the last couple of years, now we can test earlier to see if anyone has cancer, this blanket word,
right,
of all these like 50 different types of cancers, stage 1.
Right. Well, I call that retail cancer. When you can get these gene tests at Walgreens or Kroger's one day, you don't need to go to the doctor. You just do the test. It's like 23andMe, but for pre-cancer detection.
No, but yeah, basically. But
Right.
but not genetic, not if you're predisposed, but whether you have it currently.
Yeah.
And that's a game changer. Like
Yeah.
the fact that I didn't have that. And that has been like having access to that has been the single most like amazing gift for me at this point to be able to like monitor with that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't available that long ago.
No, and so that to me is the next generation of, like, I made retail cancer up. Those two words don't go together, but this concept of is prevention 2.0 your genetic tests. Again, if you are predisposed because of family history, that's only like, I was only with love, but like 7%. You're talking about the general population getting these tests.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about genetic predisposition. I'm talking about like, do I have it now?
Yes.
Like there are companies that.
Or am I at risk for it in the next year or two?
Oh, I don't know.
They can do that now too.
Okay, I don't know that one. I don't know if I'm not going to say names because I don't know what. Can I say names? I don't know.
Go
But
for it.
I have a membership through Function.
Not a sponsor?
Not a sponsor, but an amazing company. I have a membership, and through being a member with Function, I have access to Gallery by Grail, which is, I think they test like 50 different types of cancers, stage 1 through stage 4. And that's what I have currently. So, you're talking about the number of people who are diagnosed. More people use this, more people will be diagnosed because they're going to be diagnosed at stage 1.
Yes.
And that might seem like a negative thing, but I would rather find out. Like, I'm happy to be diagnosed at stage 1
Yes.
than not know. And, I think that goes into the psychology aspect of like, I think there's a divide of people, and I think it is shifting as functional health and wellness and longevity become more popular and more mass. But I think there is a divide between people who don't want to know. I don't want to know anything. Everything's
Yes.
fine. And people who are like, I really want to know.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what's going on in my body so I can combat it and I can do these other things, or I can strengthen this. And like, I'm definitely of the camp, like, I want to know, and
Right.
not to a neurotic level, but I want to know what's going on in my body. And it's such an amazing time to be alive and be a consumer and have access to these tests and these memberships that for the first time ever are really showing you what's going on in your body.
Yeah. That is a cultural anthropology study I'm eager to read in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So with that, I want people to know where they can find you. I want people to know how they can take advantage of your intuitions on the future of everything in the universe. Or maybe a little less than that. You have a website?
Sure. I don't have a website. I know you're big. You're big on websites. I'm not. I've never had
a website since 1998. I'm sorry. Unapologetic.
It was like you and Gap.com. I remember I would go to Gap.com and we could like try different nail polish colors on the nails.
Actually, Rodney Dangerfield had a website back then too. So rodneydangerfield.com and MatthewZachary.com were websites in 1998.
I feel like those references are going to land flat for some people. But
they'll land flat for the Gen Zers, but I think the Gen Xers will get that.
Just for the record, I'm not Gen X, even though you keep referencing Gen X.
No, but you are an aging millennial and you qualify.
Thank you.
Yes. It's a good problem to have.
You can find me on LinkedIn or Instagram. Those are the platforms I've decided to stay with.
To exist on?
Yeah, I can't do it all.
Nor should you have to.
I don't have time for that.
There's never enough too much, but there's never too much enough. I don't know what that means, but I really appreciate it for your friendship. I'm glad you came back to the show, and I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. I'm happy for you.
I don't know what I did, but yes. All right.
Well, I don't know what you're happy for me for, but I receive it.
We have good problems to have. We're alive. We're standing here. It's fantastic. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Next time, folks. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Out of Patience with Matthew Zachary is a production of Matthew Zachary Worldwide. The executive producer is Matthew Zachary. It is mixed and edited by Kyle Moore. If you like the show, ratings and reviews are always welcome wherever you get your podcasts. If you have guest suggestions or would like to learn more about sponsorship opportunities, email podcast@matthewzachary.com. For more information about Matthew Zachary and Matthew Zachary Worldwide, visit matthewzachary.com.
Are you looking for a new job or want a career change? Look no further than Monster.com. Need a little help standing out? Our expert resume writing services will make sure you shine. Want to brush up on your interview skills? Engage with our AI interview prep tool. Want some advice on negotiating your new salary? Visit our salary tools and extensive library of career advice articles, and you'll have all the tips and tricks you'll need to succeed. Visit Monster.com today and take the first step towards your career. Monster.com. Find your right job fit.